Hello everybody and welcome to Grammar Bites. Today we're studying comparatives and superlatives. We use comparatives with two things and we use comparative forms of adjectives for this. How do we do it? We have two ways of doing it and we look at how many syllables an adjective has. With one syllable adjective, we add er at the end of the adjective, such as bigger, hotter, smaller. When an adjective has three or more syllables, we use more or less before the adjective. For example, less expensive, more difficult, more comfortable. Most adjectives with two syllables are made comparatives with more and less coming before them. More active, less tired, more honest. But we prefer to add er to adjectives ending in y and o. For example, happier, livelier, etc. With some adjectives, both comparative forms are possible. These are wealthier or more wealthy, or politer, more polite. Here are two examples of comparative forms. My son is cleverer than I am. Clever is a short adjective, so we use er at the end of the adjective. My company is more suitable for you. Here, suitable is a long adjective, so we use more before it. To make the comparison stronger, we can use adverbs before comparative adjectives. To show that there is a small difference, a bit or slightly are used. And to show there is a big difference, much, a lot, or far are used before comparative adjectives. In the next two examples, you can see how we use adverbs such as a lot and a bit before comparative adjectives. My sister is a bookworm. She's a lot smarter than me. Eskişehir is a bit colder than Ankara. Repeated comparatives are used to describe actions or things that are increasing or decreasing. It is common to use this form with the verb get. With short adjectives, we repeat the comparative adjective. Because of global warming, our world is getting drier and drier. With long adjectives, we use more and more before the adjective. Things in the company got more and more difficult. We use the plus a comparative adjective to show that one thing leads to another or two things are related. Let's see it in an example. The longer we waited, the angrier we got. This means as the time we waited increased, our anger also increased. Another example is, the more we talked, the louder we got. Let's remember how we make superlatives. We have two ways again. With short adjectives, we add est at the end. For example, hottest, fattest, widest. With long adjectives, which have three or more syllables, we use the most and the least before them. For example, the least expensive, the most difficult, the most annoying. Before superlatives, we can use by far to make the meaning stronger. One of the and among the are also used before superlatives to make it sound weaker. For example, space exploration is one of the most expensive research areas. Netflix is by far the most popular entertainment these days. The as structure is used to make comparisons too when we want to say two things are the same or not. We use an adjective in the middle of as. For example, Sienna and her sister Joan are the same height, so we can say Sienna is as tall as her sister Joan. Here is another example. In the USA, football is less popular than in the UK. This sentence can also be said like, in the USA, football is not as popular as in the UK. Adverbs describe verbs such as slowly, carefully, seriously. To make comparative adverbs, we use more or less before the adverb. Now, let's see some examples. My sister drives carefully. Here in this sentence, carefully is an adverb. It gives information about the verb drive. I drive more carefully than my sister. More carefully is a comparative adverb. Here is another example to show you comparative adverbs. This is me and these are my colleagues. I work seriously. My colleagues work less seriously than I do. Less seriously is comparative adverb. You can modify comparative adverbs using a bit and slightly to mean there is a small difference, or we can use far, a lot, and much to mean there is a big difference, and we use them before comparative adverbs. For example, I drive a bit more carefully than my dad. I work far more seriously than my colleagues. There is an important point here. There are some adverbs which have the same form as adjectives, such as hard, late, early, and fast. So, we use the comparative adjective forms here. For example, I sleep later than usual these days. I studied harder than you when I was your age. These days, I wake up earlier than I used to. More of a means to a greater degree and less of a means to a smaller degree. And after both of them, we use a noun. We won, but it was more of a challenge than we expected. We have come to the end of this presentation. I hope you find it useful. For practice, you can click on the link below the video as usual. Have a nice day!